Everything is connected. Subway trains, JR trains, express trains, they flow through Saitama like veins, the lifeblood of the city. When a little boy in Urao Ward goes missing, it is up to Rookie Officer Sasaki to find him before he becomes one of many evaporated people. Never found, forever missing, lost. But he gets so much more than he bargained for. Entangled in a web of deceit far greater than he and his mentor Sergeant Oda could have imagined, their lives are derailed by one sure fact. The culprit will not stop unless they make him. With no witnesses, no leads, no evidence of foul play, and without a hope in hell, can Sasaki find the missing boy before more lives are lost to the darkness? Welcome back to Creepy Kitty Creations. As you may have guessed from that wee trailer there, that my exciting news is I have a release date for my first book, which is so exciting. I really am so looking forward to sharing it with you guys. So as you saw, it's coming out this October 1st, in time for the spooky season. Those of you familiar with my channel will have seen this doll here. She's one of the first dolls I ever made. Her name is Teke Teke, and she is one of the main characters in this novel, inspired by the Japanese urban legend of Teke Teke. Now, I already knew that I wanted to do a bit of character art to include in the book, so I thought it might be fun to share that process with you. Let's go! So I started filming this, and unfortunately it didn't catch the part where I used an app called Easy Pose, which is a brilliant app, by the way, for any of you who have issues with anatomy, or if you have a disability like me and have trouble with body positions. It's basically an app where you can put in a model and change the position depending on the body position that you're wanting your drawing to be in, so that you can use it as a base. So that's what I did here to get the right position of her sort of creeping over the bed. So you might be curious what this novella is about. So first I'll start with where I started with this. This is actually the first book in a collection that I'm planning on doing called Seeing is Believing, and it's going to be a collection of about 6 novellas, all inspired by Japanese urban legends. This one is Teke Teke, but there'll also be Hanako-chan of the toilet, or in Japanese Toire no Hanako-chan, and the Legend of Akamanto, which is also revolves around toilets, funnily enough. Kuchisake Onna, the slit-mouthed woman, and No Perabo, the faceless man. And Mary's Calling, Mary-san no Denwa, which is the story that got me into doll customizing. And if you sign up to my author newsletter, you'll actually get the first chapter for free. So I've just linked that in the description box below. So I'm currently working on revising them. This is the first one that's actually ready for publication, which is really exciting. So what is the legend? It is a Japanese urban legend about the ghost of a schoolgirl. She is an onryo, a vengeful spirit, who lurks in urban areas around train stations at night. Teke Teke is quite literally the Japanese onomatopoeia for a body dragging along the ground, which is very creepy but hard to translate into English. So the title of the novella, Scritch Scratch, The Legend of Teke Teke, it was the closest equivalent to the translation for that onomatopoeia. After finishing formatting the print book, which is currently being reviewed on Amazon to have the proof copy sent out, I really felt like drawing this particular scene from the story, because I don't know about you guys, but the thing that keeps me up at night after watching a horror movie, or what I find the creepiest thing ever, is the image or the idea of something like just feeling that weight on your bed and looking down or across at the side of your bed and seeing something there looking at you. I like whenever there's a horror movie and you see the person in bed and you're just slowly seeing the covers slip down. I know it's a bit cliche, but I find that so creepy. So needless to say, my covers are always firmly tucked in. Nothing is pulling my sheets off. This was a really fun one to draw, and it's the first time I've been able to draw in a long time, so that felt really good, and it's nice to be able to share it with you guys. So I know it's not doll related, but I'm definitely going to be making a doll of her before the release date in October, so I hope you'll be looking forward to that. I already have some plans on how I want to go about it. So for those of you who are artists and curious about the Speedpaint, I'm using an app called Procreate. I love Procreate. A lot of people find it a little bit difficult to use because it does have a lot of hidden tools like the different layers and things. I personally find I use Affinity Photo for adding text usually for my book covers, which I will be revealing soon. If you want to stay up to date with that, I will be revealing it on YouTube, but newsletter subscribers will get to see it first, and I will be posting more regularly on Instagram all the fun little updates that goes on with publishing a book. So if you want to stay up to date with that, please subscribe to my monthly newsletter or follow me on Instagram. I'd really appreciate it and would enjoy sharing this process with you. This was really fun, especially because at the moment the reason why I've been a little bit more dormant on the doll front is because I have been busy getting this ready for publication, but also I freely admit that my doll desk is totally messy again and I can't actually get to it at the moment. So also it's been pretty cold here in New Zealand, especially Christchurch, the last few weeks, which is not really Mr. Super Clear friendly. So it's given me a bit of time to focus on this, but I do promise there are dolls coming. Before my RA got really bad, I had been looking into like photorealistic art and trying to learn how to do that. Sadly, I wasn't able to have the time to put into learning that, so I think I've kind of ended up with a little bit of a hybrid style. But one thing I learned from watching tutorials and other people doing art is how they would turn their background either like a dark brown or a dark grey, and I find that really useful. So at the moment I'm just going through and erasing all of the parts for the skin, because I find it easy that once you've got all your areas blocked out, you can actually use a clipping mask for all the shading, so it means that you don't need to worry about staying inside the lines. A clipping mask will do that for you. So that's just what I'm doing here, and I'll do that separately on separate layers for the skin, the hair, the base colour for the bed and the walls and such. So I mentioned earlier about this being the first book in a collection inspired by Japanese urban legends. So these are all going to be like origin stories of how the urban legend or the creatures from the urban legend came to be. They're almost all onryo, and they're almost all so those are vengeful spirits. And when I was first brainstorming the stories for this collection, I always just found myself thinking, what could have happened in life, or how did these people die to become such a vengeful spirit that torments people in such a way, and just having that overlying question for all of them was really fun. And they're actually the ones that they are the stories that got me into writing. This is the first one I'm publishing, but it was actually Hanako's story that I wrote first. She was the first story I ever wrote, and I remember at the time thinking how proud I was and how brilliant it was. And then I invested in the Hagley Writing Institute, and that really opened my eyes to what quality writing really could be. And now all of these stories that I wrote then are 99.9% red pen, all to be rewritten. But I think they'll be a lot stronger for it, so I'm really glad that I took the time to wait and learn more about writing and publishing so that I could write these stories as they were meant to be, and they're really good fun. So Teke Teke wasn't I think she was the second to be written after Hanako. But yeah, at the time I felt like I'd written so many words, and then I went and looked back and found that it was like Hanako's story was only 9 chapters long. It wasn't even a novella, it was a novelette. It's only about 10,000 words, 11,000 words. Teke Teke, her story, Scritch Scratch, Legend of Teketeke, is a novella. So it's shorter than a novel, so hopefully it will just make a nice cozy horror read for those of you who find horror cozy like I do. So some more detail into her urban legend. As I said, she's a vengeful spirit that lurks in urban areas around train stations. Her origin story depends on where you look or who you talk to. Everything ranges from an accident or her falling off the track, off the platform and onto the tracks. But one thing that it always has in common, no matter who's telling the urban legend, is that the reason she's called Teke Teke, or she makes the sound of a body scratching across the ground, is because she has no lower body. So she has to drag herself along the ground, but she does so very quickly, lightning speed, and she usually carries like a scythe or a weapon of some sort to disfigure people the same way that she was. So she cuts them in half. She will she'll literally chase them. And slice them in half, which is mildly terrifying. Not what you want to be seeing when you're walking home from the station at night. Adding shadows like this is always my favourite part of a drawing. It just adds dimension, and once all of the blocking out of the colours is done, I always think that's the boring bit, but no, I really enjoy this part here, especially that I wanted to put a lot of focus on her eyes, because it's, other than her being there and sneaking up being at this person's bedside, I think the glowing eyes is almost the creepiest part, so I really wanted to make those pop. Procreate's a lot like Photoshop, so you can actually take a layer and put on and change the, I don't know what the technical term for it is. It's like the style. You've got like normal, color dodge, multiply, all sorts of them. So to make this look a lot more glowy and to sort of make it filter through the other colours on other layers, like the shadows and everything, I just added a style to it. I think it may have been Colour Dodge or Screen. I usually struggle with shading and lighting a bit, so I really tried to challenge myself with this one and keep it on the realistic side. So if the glow is coming from, and the light source is coming from her eyes, it would be on her hand that's closest to her left eye, or her eye that's on the left, and the part where she's looking on the blanket. So I tried to add a little bit there, and then adding some shading to the blankets. It was a wee bit tricky, the shading, as far as the fact that her claws have ripped through the sheets. So that was a fun challenge. I'm just mucking around with the layers here. I think I added the shading on the wrong one, so I just had to go back and delete it off her hand, so that it was all, the shading for the bed was in the one layer. So, first rule of digital art, always know what layer you're on. And the blur tool is my greatest ally. I love the blur tool. It's excellent for just softening those shadows, but then at the same time, I'm probably a bit guilty of softening them too much and not adding in enough of the really dark shadows, so I'm trying to improve on that. One of my writer friends, he's a musician, but he also knows how to work all the machinery in recording studios, so he's kindly offered to help me release an audiobook version of this novella. So I'm really excited for that, because I know quite often, especially when my arthritis is bad, I have trouble holding a book up, and sometimes even an e-reader. So I personally love audiobooks, and I know like they are, I mean, lots of people enjoy them, and then for other people they're like the only way that they can enjoy books comfortably. So it's always been important for me to be able to release audiobook versions of my books as well. So it's really, really cool that he's offered to help me with that, so that I can hopefully make a really, really nice quality product for you. Blur tool to the rescue. want to go in and just do some fine tuning around her eyes with the shading. Really want her to have like, not like really dark bags under her eyes, but definitely darken them a bit more than they are now so that she looks super creepy and malevolent. But then it's also really easy to overdo shadows. I think I fall on either end of the scale, and that I either do too much or too little. So this was a good challenge for me too, just going in and trying to put shadows where there would be shadows and some highlights where there should be highlights. I don't know, I've always found lighting really difficult, and probably the hardest part of drawing other than body position and hands and feet. The funny thing about hands and feet is the longer you look at them, the weirder they look. If all goes well, you should be able to pre-order this book in September, and I'll be doing the cover reveal very soon. I'm really excited to be able to share it. I've been sitting on the covers for all of these books actually for almost 2 years now, and it's so hard to keep them quiet. I can't wait to show you guys. Got a little bit of a sneak peek in the trailer there, so I hope you're excited to see the reveal. You've already heard the blurb on the back of the book that I worked it into the trailer at the beginning. And if you want to be able to read this book early, I am going to be advertising for what they call ARC readers, advanced reader copy or advanced review copy, which is where people sign up to get the book for free in exchange for an honest review. So I'll be advertising that in my newsletter on Instagram and also on YouTube, so I'd really appreciate any and all of you who would like to sign up and get a free copy in exchange for an honest review. All good if that's not your thing. You can stay up to date with the book cover reveal and everything just through the newsletter or on Instagram or even here on YouTube. All of your support is so appreciated. All of you have already been so supportive here on YouTube whenever I put up a doll video or share a chapter of something. It's what keeps me going when the self-doubt starts kicking in. I actually go back and read your comments that you've left on those videos, and it's inspiring, so thank you. It really means a lot. Now for my favourite part of any horror drawing is adding the blood. Blood spatter. I have some custom brushes for that, so I can just sort of splatter them with the paintbrush, and then you can sort of just use the lasso tool to take what parts you want and just sort of fine tune. So here I'm just going to take some of the outer spray and just move it along to get the finer spray without that big sort of chunk of spray paint spray that was in the middle. It's a great technique. I really love it. It causes a lot of layers, but then once you have them the way you want, you can just merge them and duplicate, and then you get a lot of blood. So it's a lot of lassoing and erasing, but I think it's worth it. I don't quite want it that bright though, so I'm just gonna lower the opacity and change the style to, I think I used multiply. I want to have Scritch Scratch on it, so I'm just using a font that I downloaded from DA Font. I think it's called Arachnoid. It's 100% free, so it's licensed for commercial use. And I'm just going to lasso it after rasterizing it so that I can use my beloved smudge tool. I usually pick an artistic brush, like a dry brush or an oil paint, and because it's blend, it means I can just brush over this and it will give it that paintbrush texture. Just looks like more realistic, like someone's written it in blood. I love this technique. So see how the styles here will subtly change the way that the layer works with everything around it? Text placement, whether it's an image or a book cover, I always find a little bit tricky. Can take a little wrangling to get it to look right, and they're just a little bit too bright, so I changed the layer's opacity and also the style. I want to be able to see some of the shading underneath on the bed. And now I'm just using the distort tool to change it to the same perspective as the bed. It's a really neat tool in Procreate. And we're done. And so ends my first Teke Teke speed paint. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's a bit different from my normal content. I'd love to know what you thought. I love reading all of your comments, so let me know what you thought in the comments down below. And if you want to keep up to date with all of the book related updates, please don't forget to subscribe to my monthly newsletter or follow me on Instagram. And I hope you're just as excited as me for the spooky season, 1st of October, when the book is going to be released. I'll see you next time. Bye!